Meaningful art is a universal visual language that has the power to move hearts and minds, to transcend language barriers and cultural divides. Welcome, my fellow art nerds! You've probably clicked this video because you're curious about how to make your artwork more meaningful, which also makes it more impactful and memorable. Creating meaningful artwork isn't just about aesthetics, it's about emotion and human connection. It's about using our talents to advocate for causes we truly care about. I'll show you how I go about making meaningful artwork in this speed paint using mixed media, specifically collage, acrylic, and oil on canvas. But first, let me share a secret with you. Meaningful artwork doesn't begin on a canvas. It starts as an idea. If you have a great idea, but you don't write it down, or you don't draw it in your sketchbook, then poof, it's gone! By the way, that's what sketchbooks are for. Ideas, not perfect drawings on each page. But that's a topic for another video. A lot of the time, you have a great idea, but you have your hands full with other projects. Story of my life. So it goes into the sketchbook, and sometimes an idea doesn't feel complete until something suddenly clicks. For example, I started a portrait of Frida Kahlo, one of my favorite artists, in 2014. I didn't finish the painting until 4 years later in 2018. I was stuck and I didn't know what to do, so I put it away and worked on other projects. And then suddenly 4 years later, I figured out what was missing. Here's how to tell if an idea is any good. Number 1, you can summarize the idea clearly in a sentence or 2. Number 2, it's one idea, not 2 or 3 smashed together. There can be secondary elements, but they need to support the main idea and not take away from it. Number 3, the idea is clear even when sketched at a small size, like the size of a postage stamp. Number 4, the concept has emotional appeal. We are human and we act on our emotions a lot more than logic. If an artwork doesn't make the viewer feel something, it's probably not strong enough. Meaningful art needs to come from a genuine and authentic place. If you don't personally believe in the idea, it's never as good as something that you're deeply passionate about or something you're personally aligned with. Begin this journey of creating meaningful artwork by asking yourself, what am I passionate about? Animals are one of the subjects I'm most passionate about, particularly the cause of protecting wildlife and awareness for endangered species on the brink of extinction. Those who know me will testify that I'm not just an animal lover, I'm also borderline obsessive about reducing waste and packaging. So I've been saving non-recyclable plastic garbage to use in future art projects. And then the idea suddenly clicked for me when I realized what I could finally use that plastic garbage for. I wanted to paint portraits of critically endangered animals disappearing into a sea of human consumption. I started with a majestic animal, one that we could easily relate to, an orangutan. This orangutan isn't just a subject. They are a symbol of the delicate balance between humanity and nature, a reminder of the consequences of our actions or inactions in the world around us. And in the eyes of this great ape, I see a peaceful and thoughtful creature and the resilience of nature, a spirit that refuses to be extinguished even in the face of adversity. I started by toning my canvas green with acrylic and collaging scraps of the plastic packaging, finding symbols and words that would help elevate the meaning like images of plants. I wanted the green background to mimic the natural habitat of the orangutan at a glance, until you look closer and realize that it's actually unnatural. I used an acrylic pouring medium as the adhesive, but gel medium can work as well. Acrylic mediums are essentially plastic when they're dry, so it worked well to permanently bind the plastic pieces onto my canvas. If you're using acrylic, keep in mind that it's better for the environment to let the paint water stand for a while, so the acrylic settles to the bottom. You can then pour out the water and the acrylic sediment can be wiped with a rag or scraped into the garbage so that it stays out of our oceans. As with all plastics, acrylic paints can be harmful if allowed into our water systems, and microplastics are a huge problem we're dealing with today. As I waited for the background to dry, I sketched some simple compositions, and because it's a portrait, I decided to focus on the face, which evokes more emotion and compassion. I usually try 2 different orientations, a horizontal and a vertical, based on the canvas I'm using. I like to keep these small so that I can focus on the main idea instead of the details. I wrote down a short list to guide me on this piece, like what design principles would make this piece even stronger? How do I want to express that he's disappearing? And by the way, if you're not sure what design principles are, I'll link to a blog and playlist in the description of this video that you can check out later. Once the background collage was fully dry, I took out my oil paints. Yes, you can safely paint oils on top of acrylic once they're dry, but not the other way around. I like acrylic for its fast drying time and versatility. There are countless options, mixing mediums and textures. I like oils for the blending and brushwork, and combining them gives me the best of both worlds. I love teaching with mixed media, so if you want to see more mixed media tutorials on the channel, let me know in the comments. I worked on this painting with my art mentorship students, and we had a lot of fun exploring mixed media and color while discovering the process behind bringing original ideas to life. Some of my students painted along with me, while others worked on their own ideas. We gave each other feedback, suggestions, and encouragement, and I find it really helpful to create with a group of like-minded people. You can bounce ideas off each other and stay accountable. Now it's time to nerd out on some color theory. I love using the Zorn Palette to start off my portraits. If you haven't heard of the Zorn Palette, it consists of only 4 pigments: red, yellow, black, and white. You can use reds and yellows, different ones, depending on the range of color you want. But I chose alizarin crimson and yellow ochre for the earthy brown of the orangutan. One tip is that too often I see beginner artists use too many colors when starting a painting, when really less is more. Limited palettes allow you to focus more on your values, which is ultimately more important for styles like realism. I'll link another tutorial dedicated to the Zorn palette if you're interested in trying it out. Once I have a rough in, I'll add additional colors to brighten up certain areas. I took out some cadmium red, cadmium yellow hue, and ultramarine blue, a primary color combination for more saturation. The color scheme for this piece is triadic: green, orange, and purple. The green and orange were already part of the original image, so I decided to shift the gray into a subtle purple hue, giving it more contrast while maintaining harmony and a natural look. The final touches were all about how to show the idea of disappearing, so I used a palette knife to add some green into the foreground and loosen up some of those edges. This painting sparked the idea for an entire series of mixed media paintings with collage featuring critically endangered animals. And so far I've painted a pangolin, polar bears, and a vaquita, which was done in a live stream that I'll link in the description. As artists, we possess a unique power of universal language to shine a light on issues that matter deeply to us. As we create meaningful artwork, we're also on a journey of self-discovery through art, and that's what makes it the most rewarding. Do you have any tips for making artwork more meaningful? Let's continue the conversation in the comments below. Join a virtual class to learn live from our professional artists. Get creative assignments, individual guidance, and real-time feedback on your artwork. Start today and level up your practice. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Share it with a fellow art nerd, and if you love receiving quality and free arts education, subscribe. Here are some other videos you can check out next.